All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the first 2022 session of the Microsoft 365 Meetup for Government. Pleased to have everyone here this evening, and pleased to welcome our presenter for this evening, Sergio Cossio. Want to go over a few administrative announcements first. So for those who may be new to our community, this is a community organized around learning, professional growth, networking, and all things related to the Microsoft 365 government SaaS solution and related implementations within the public sector space. We have a few kind of common sense community standards. We ask that folks always be respectful and considerate to others, that you don't share any proprietary, non-public or confidential information. We certainly encourage everyone who, whether it be looking for a job or questions or other opportunities, you are allowed to self-promote, but we ask that everyone keep it reasonable and not excessive. Please don't spam the community. And it is worth calling out that while this is a sponsored community, both Microsoft and Planet and others are sponsors of this group, anyone here is representing themselves in their personal capacity. So for those of us who may work for Microsoft or other places, we are here and only representing our own opinions and views, not any official position of Microsoft, even if we may work for Microsoft or other organizations. I want to thank my co-community organizers, Andrew Kagan and Andy Oak from Planet Technologies, who've been founding members and a huge part of helping to make sure this community is successful. And I most of all want to thank all of you, the participants, for continuing to attend, support, and express your interest in these sessions. We certainly, you can't have a community without the people. For those who don't know me, I'm Nick Giard. I'm a Microsoft employee, work within our Office 365 engineering team, so feel free to add me on social media. And for those who may not be familiar with Teams as a platform, there's a few quick call outs. I'll probably leave this unmoderated for tonight's session, unless people get too rowdy. So feel free to come off mute or raise your hand or put a question in the chat. And otherwise, hopefully the controls will be pretty self-explanatory. Or if you need help with anything, please put it in the chat window. Lastly, we are always looking for people for content presenters or other contributors for the community. So if you would like to be a presenter or have an idea for something that we can do, please submit that through our suggestion form, as well as it's very important to receive feedback both for how we are doing as a community organization and the speakers and topics we have. So if you have a chance, please take the time to fill out the feedback form for tonight's session, and let us know what you'd like to see more of, less of, what was good, or any other suggestions you have. So without further ado, I'd like to hand things off to Sergio and dive into tonight's session. So Sergio, thank you so much for presenting, and the floor is yours.
Absolutely, Nick. Thank you. Thanks, everyone. It's my pleasure to be presenting here in this esteemed community. I'm going to try to share my screen here, and I want to share it with sound because I'm going to be playing a couple of videos as well. Please let me know if you can see my screen. Oh, I'm having this nice layout here, but maybe we don't want that. Give me 1 second. There's a hot mic.
It's all right.
There you go. All right. Better. So good afternoon or good night, everyone. My name is Sergio Cossio. I'm a Teams technical specialist. I work for Microsoft, but I'm here in a community capacity, which is a good relief because now you cannot hold anything I say against me. So the idea here is that we're going to, Nick asked me to come and present what's the outlook for the platform for M365 for government specifically for the year, right? As we start the new year, I know that our customers in the government clouds are really eager to start planning regarding technology adoption programs, et cetera, and so we want to help you with that, and we want to highlight a couple of things that are coming down the pike so that you can have good awareness and you can be ready for what's coming. My role at Microsoft is to remove barriers for cloud adoption, to help our customers in all government clouds adopt all of our technologies, whether you're starting from scratch or you're well advanced in your cloud and digital transformation journey. And I support customers in the DoD, Defense Industrial Base, federal space. So let's go through the agenda. At a high level, this is kind of what we're going to do. We're going to look at the, we're going to provide a walkthrough to our public roadmap. As this is an open community event, there are a number of, we cannot share necessarily NDA information. So this is really all publicly available. But what we've done is we've compiled it in a way that's hopefully very useful to you, highlighting a couple of features that are coming that we think are going to be useful for you all. We're going to hopefully make this very interactive. It's my goal to make this a very interactive presentation with a Q&A during and after the presentation of the roadmap. And then after, time permitting, hopefully we'll be able to talk about a topic that's very hot nowadays for all my customers, and that is what are the current capabilities for collaboration across tenants within the same cloud, or even across different clouds. As I mentioned, I support customers in all three clouds, GCC, GCC High, and DoD. So this topic is near and dear to my heart, and it's always, I always want to make sure that we evangelize on those capabilities, and we make sure that our customers understand where we are regarding those capabilities as well. If you have any questions, I think it's okay for you to come off mute. It's going to be hard for me to pay attention to chat. I'll try my best to do it. But if you have a question, try to raise your hand. Nick, I think.
Yeah, Sergio, we have a few folks who will be able to help moderate the chat. So we'll call if anyone doesn't feel comfortable asking out loud. I can happy to interrupt and call out questions from the chat.
I know you're always happy to interrupt. Nick and I go way back. Sorry, we're
it's too true.
Yeah. All right. So let's get started. This is the obligatory disclosure statement, right? This presentation discusses future roadmap dates and capabilities are subject to change. This is just for discussion and planning purposes, and of course, all the official dates are on our official roadmap outlined on this. Hold on, I'm trying to get my laser pointer on this URL, right? So let's start there, right? I'm assuming all of you have seen our public M365 roadmap. I don't know if you, with a reaction, you can give me a thumbs up and tell me if you've seen this before. I don't know if reactions are working for everyone.
Yep. Yeah, there's a lot of thumbs up.
All right, great. So, well, so that's great, right? I absolutely think this is really the tool that you all want to use when you are trying to understand what's coming down the line and what are the capabilities that you can take advantage of as you embark in your digital transformation journey, and you start looking at, what can fulfill a need that you have in your organization. We have gone a long way from the initial stages of this roadmap. As you can see, we have a lot of information there, and we have crafted the portal now in a way that you can look and then filter information, roadmap information, specifically based on the cloud you're interested in, right? Because we understand that even though this is a public commercial roadmap, our customers in the federal space are really interested in the capabilities that are going to be available on their respective clouds. And as you all, I assume most of you our customers in our government cloud community networks and platforms. I suspect you've seen this before, where you go and look for a feature, you think it's there, but it's really not, because it's not in the right cloud. The roadmap addresses that, right? You now are going to be able to go here and look specifically at things that are coming. If dates change, you'll be able to see that. You can track items, you can download this, and I think there's even an RSS feed that I've never used, but I suspect it could be useful if you want to publish some of that through your organization as well. So with that said, I wanted to talk a little briefly, on a look back. We really want to talk about what we had released on calendar year 21. It's been a very prolific year as far as capabilities that we have released. And I think it's important for us to share that with you all, because there's the perception that, parity is always a challenge with our government clouds. And, it's really hard to release capabilities, whether because of compliance or feature parity, et cetera, et cetera. But I just wanted to share this information with you, this graphic, so that you have an idea, right? So we've launched more than 400 capabilities across the different clouds, with an average of 20 launches per month. And as you can see, we released a lot of capabilities across the months. There's a lot of activity in our clouds. And really, we've made sure that we, as we make progress towards complete parity with our commercial clouds, we really, I think, took great strides in that regard in this year. You can see that all clouds have benefited from this. We've gotten a lot of features across the board, right? It's not only GCC, it's not only DoD, et cetera, et cetera. All the clouds have gotten a lot of capabilities. So I wanted to talk about that a little bit, right? On our look back, high-level platform-wide, what are some highlights that we've released? Teams live events, presenter view in Teams meetings. You've seen that a little bit, that I played with that as we were starting here. Multi-window chat, DLP, data loss prevention in Teams, guest access, which is a very, very important capability. We're talking about in cloud only. We're going to talk about that feature specifically more as we advance in this presentation. Private channels, a really useful tool. Teams Together mode, very popular, especially in community calls. I don't know if any one of you has attended the PMP community calls, et cetera, et cetera. The Together mode is very popular in those calls. Retention for teams, communications, compliance. Again, a lot of emphasis in our government clouds, not only on the core capabilities of platform like such as Teams, SharePoint Online, et cetera, but as you can see, we've released a lot of notable items regarding compliance, information protection, et cetera, right? One thing that we are really looking forward to releasing in all clouds. We have it in GCC and GCC High, but we're really looking forward to releasing in the DoD is the ability to use our modern Surface hubs as a Microsoft Teams room. This slide comes from Teams engineering. This is specifically about Teams. Nick, I don't know if if it's okay to share these slides, if there's an expectation for us to share them. If that's the case, right, we can clean this up and share it with the audience. All of this information is publicly available, so I don't think it'll be a problem. So I'm not going to drain the slide. I'm not going to read this for you, but I just wanted to kind of highlight we've released a lot of stuff across the board. So now let's talk about what's coming, right? As we talk about what's in development in our M365 roadmap, again, we have like more than 400 capabilities in development. An average of 17 new items that will be added per month. And again, one thing that I wanted to highlight here, towards the end of the year, we've made a lot of commitments on our government clouds around capability release. And as you can see, we are going to be fulfilling those commitments. We have a ton of releases coming in January, February, March of this year, which means, everything that a lot of what we said we were going to bring to the platforms is coming. And we have a couple of really exciting things that we wanted to talk about. Any questions so far? Any comments? Again, I'm not checking chat too much, but
Nothing in the chat yet, although I did post a link for anyone. We had our December session was a year calendar year 21 year in review. So if that's something that interests you, Sergio, you did a great job summarizing, and there's a lot of detailed information that's for anyone who wants to watch the recording of our December session.
Great. Oh yeah, and Alejandro, yes, not only customers but also partners. So really good to see our partners here as well. So let's talk about some notable items that are in development, so about to release. And I've kind of classified this in general verticals. I think we're going to start talking about Teams, notable items in Teams first. Then I'm going to talk about SharePoint Online, OneDrive for Business, Stream, Viva, et cetera, and then I'm going to touch on compliance. This is, of course, not an exhaustive list of what we are releasing, but I think these are notable items that I suspect are of interest to our customers and partners. And so I've called these out so that you can reference them with the feature IDs, again, based on the public roadmap, so that you can look them up and learn more about this. I am not going to go through all these items, but I wanted to key on one specific item here, and that's the first one: Microsoft Teams anonymous meeting join across clouds. I think I would like to do a quick informal poll. If you can type on the chat which cloud you have a tenant on currently: GCC, GCC High, DoD. I'd like to just have an idea of where our audience is. So I have one DoD, one GCC, GCC High. Okay, a lot of GCCs I was expecting. That's good, because that's where we have the most features. So good. This really runs the gamut of our capabilities. Oh, Gerald doesn't know what GCC stands for. So GCC is the Government Community Cloud, and it's a specific designator of a compliant O365 platform, right? Outside of the commercial capabilities that we offer in O365, we offer government-specific community clouds, and those are the designations that align with specific compliant requirements of the U.S. government, right? GCC aligns with a moderate, FedRAMP moderate set of requirements, GCC High with a FedRAMP High, or in fact level 4 requirements, in DoD with all the DoD requirements. Those are really 3 distinct clouds with capabilities and features available in all of them. So again, talking about across clouds, right? If time permits, again, I really would like to talk about all the work that we are doing around cross-cloud and cross-tenant collaboration, because it's really important. As you continue to mature and organizations continue to mature in their use of our platform, we see that there's a big need to go beyond your own tenant, right, within your own community cloud. But even outside of that, we have many customers and users and partners who have the need to interact across of this compliant boundary, right? And because of the requirements of the US government, we have to create these clouds in a very isolated vertical fashion, right? We created very tight boundaries around those, so that all the collaboration and all the data would be protected within that boundary. But now we're seeing that as the needs of our customers and the government and organizations that serve the US government have evolved, we actually need to facilitate collaboration across those tight boundaries. That's not really easy to do, because they were designed to be closed. And so we're doing a lot of engineering work to make that happen. And the first thing that we're going to show in that regard is that feature that I'm highlighting here. I don't know if you can, but we're gonna do show of hands, right? If you can raise your hand. Does anyone have a need to join a meeting in a cloud outside of your of your native or local cloud. Let's see. Exactly. And to be, very candid here, the experience has not been great in all cases, right? If you have a GCC tenant and you need to join a meeting in our commercial cloud, that's transparent and seamless. That's great. When you have if you have a commercial or GCC tenant and you need to join a GCC High meeting, for example, right? You will get an experience when you try to join the meeting saying, hey, this is in a different cloud, copy the URL, paste it here, join over the web, and you are going to be able to join the meeting, right? So thankfully, we've made that possible, but there's a little bit of friction there. And we're making a lot of engineering work to really reduce that friction because we want the experience to be seamless. And this is the first foray into that particular arena. Right. The idea of this feature, anonymous meeting join across clouds, is that you get a meeting invite, right, through your Outlook, et cetera, and when the time for the meeting comes, you don't worry about which cloud your meeting has to take place on. You just click join, and you are going to be able to join. The first stage is this anonymous meeting join, meaning you're going to be joining as an anonymous user into this meeting. So you're going to be put in a lobby so that the organizer can decide whether to admit you or not. You're going to enter your name, and then you're going to be able to participate on that meeting. But it's all going to be directly through the Teams client. You don't have to go to the browser. You don't have to do any gyrations. You click join, you type your name, and then you are admitted into the meeting. I was expecting applause there because it's a big deal, but that's okay. And I see a couple of hands up, and I don't know if it's from my latest polling, but if somebody has a question, okay, no, we're just putting hands down. Okay, so this is really a big deal. This is the first feature that we are disclosing publicly, right, regarding our roadmap for collaboration across multiple clouds. And we're right now in private preview with some customers, with a number of our customers in the federal space and in the defense industrial base as well. And we're going to go, the goal is to have general availability. This column here called availability or avail is when it says GA, that means that it's going to be generally available in March of this calendar year. So in a couple of months, hopefully, everybody across all clouds is going to be able to seamlessly join a meeting in any cloud without having to worry about which cloud the meeting is taking place on, and et cetera, et cetera. A couple of other great items that we're releasing. Oh, and I wanted to call out that here we have 3 columns, right? These denote whether the capability is being released in all three clouds simultaneously, or initially, like in some cases, just in the GCC cloud. So the attendance dashboard in GCC is another capability that I know has been widely requested and popular. That's coming as general availability in April of this year. A new lobby setting that will provide you the ability so that only invited users can join directly for GCC. So only users that you have invited will bypass the lobby if the meeting has been forwarded, et cetera, et cetera. Those are going to be put in a lobby so that you can decide whether to admit them or not. Another feature that I think it's very useful, I've been using that a lot. We are, of course, a global organization, and it's the local time added to the people profile. So when I look at somebody's profile on my Teams client, Teams now tells me this user is 3 hours ahead of you, 3 hours behind you. So it really helps you be mindful when you're communicating with them to really know where they are. It's 7 a.m. where they are, or it's 7 p.m. where they are when you're trying to reach them with an IM. So I think that's a really cool feature. Paging on video gallery, great. Check out for Microsoft Teams panels. I don't know if you're familiar with Teams panels, though these are devices in our device ecosystem and will allow you to actually reserve a room directly from a panel that's outside the conference room so that you can book it and start having a meeting right away. Another item that's, I think, really critical as we go back into the office and we provide this hybrid meeting experience with people who are in the office and people who are remote is this front row layout for Teams rooms. Interestingly enough, when we're talking about parity and giving the same experience to all users, sometimes the remote users have a slightly better experience than those in a room, right, when they are at the office, because they have a full view of everyone who's in the meeting, like right now, all the content that's being shared, the chat, et cetera, right? People who are in a conference room at the office, right, are a little hindered and they don't have that same visibility. So along those lines, right, our research around hybrid work and the hybrid workplace has provided some strategies. For example, a loose guidance at Microsoft is if you are in a conference room and you join a meeting, we would like you to turn on your camera, right? Even if you aren't on the meeting, so that all participants have that same view. But when you have your camera here, and your image is also, your video image is also, or your video feed is also presented in the front of the room, that's a little jarring. Nobody kind of likes to see them in a large screen on video, well, at least I don't. And so this front row layout does that. It will remove the participants who are on the meeting, and it's going to provide that front row view of all the participants in the meeting in the meeting room, so that you can see the content, but you also can see the video below.
Hey, Sergio, quick question from the chat. I'm not sure if you saw it.
No.
So there was a question around webinar feature separate from live events, but the actual Teams webinar and registration. And have you heard anything about that? I see it releasing a commercial on the public roadmap, but I'm not sure if there's anything that you've heard and share. If not, we can capture a follow-up and see if.
Yeah, definitely a follow-up. Let's tag that as a follow-up. It's a feature that's available in commercial, absolutely. And I don't know if it's available in our roadmap, but I see a few folks from my team who are on the call as well. So, and anybody really, if you can go to the roadmap and take a look, just to test it, right? Look for the webinar and see if we have a roadmap date there. But essentially, the webinar feature is a capability very similar to Teams live events, but it provides a few additional capabilities, like the ability to fill out the registration form. So it's really more an event-driven type of meeting experience, which we actually maybe should take advantage of in a context like this, for example, right? It really helps you to have a list of people who are coming, who's registered, who can participate, who needs to get the invites, et cetera, et cetera. And also there's a few things that happen after the meeting as well that are helpful. So I see a hand. Heather, I don't know if you.
Yeah, I was just waiting for you to give me permission to unmic, Sergio. Thank you very much. So I was the actual one who asked about the webinar because it used to be on the GCC roadmap. I track it every single week.
Okay.
For my job, I'm just required to do it. So it was on there. It was supposed to release earlier in the summer, and then it got pushed to December 2021. And then in December, it fell off. So I was just wondering if maybe it was just falling off for now. And if that's how it is, then that's great. I was just curious because my customers ask me all the time.
Absolutely.
Thank you for taking my question.
Absolutely. Yeah. So it looks like it's not there right now. So we're going to look and see what happens. Sometimes engineering teams have to readjust priorities, and then they have to plan and forecast work again, right? So I don't think we're not going to provide that feature in our government clouds. I think it's an issue of planning and readjusting the availability date, and hopefully that'll be available on the roadmap soon.
Thank you. I appreciate it, and that's completely understandable.
Great. So I'm going to put my Twitter handle here. It's simple. So if you want to reach out via Twitter, you can do that as well. And of course, also you can email me. And because we now have cross-cloud capabilities, specifically for chat, you can actually IM me from any cloud in that on that address that I put there. You can also email me as well, right? We do email too, but you can also IM me directly if you have questions. I can't promise that I'm going to answer absolutely all your questions. Sometimes I'll have to defer to the account teams that support you or your customers. But I'll gladly be the first line of contact here. And sometimes I have the answer ready, and I'll be able to provide that as well. So thanks for the question. Please keep it coming. I don't want to talk by myself the whole hour. Let's move on to the other notable items in SharePoint Online, OneDrive for Business, Stream, and Viva. I know this is something that has been a requirement on our community as well, in the GCC community, and that's find time availability. I have a couple of customers in GCC. I know that we've had to pull that from the roadmap and even from tenants because of I believe compliance considerations, but that's coming. Find time in Outlook is a feature that a lot of people really want to see in our clouds, and the engineering team has committed to make it available around August of calendar year 2022. I know it feels like a long time, but one thing that I don't know if Nick shared on the or whoever presented on the look back meeting, our date calculations take into account compliance, accreditation, et cetera, et cetera. So there's that buffer as well that we need to have in some cases, because in some cases, not for every feature, but for some features, we need to go through accreditation boards to make sure that the feature is compliant with the regulations of the respective clouds that we're deploying in. And I think that's the case with Find Time, but it's coming. So that's really great. I don't know if yes. I'm just trying to pay attention to the chat as well. And then let's go to the other item that I think it's really great. It's in preview, was released November 2021, and it's going to become available in the near future as general availability. But that's the ability to rename your tenant. I don't know how many folks were aware of this capability. I think it's a big deal. It's something that I was looking for my customers essentially from the day 2 after they onboarded onto their tenants, right? There are many reasons why our customers need to rename the tenants that they have, because as you likely know, really the only place where the name of your tenant is exposed to external users and internal users, to your users in general, right, is in SharePoint, right? The URL of your SharePoint site has the name of your tenant there. And so renaming that for that reason was a very complex endeavor. And now we've made it available. That I think is, again, a really big deal. The process is documented. We have docs.microsoft.com where we outline what you need to do. Essentially, you need to see if the name you want is available. Once it's done, you start the rename process, and then you go from there. There are a couple of partial commands that you need to do, and essentially that's it, which is, again, a really real big deal. Aha, yes, good. I got a good reaction on that. Yes, I think it's a big deal. Another thing that I want to call out, and that's available in all clouds at the same time, right? That's also, again, shows the commitment that we have for parity across our government clouds. Folks who have been operating in the GCC High and DoD clouds may have gotten used to the fact that something, and in general, our release is GCC, GCC High, and DoD because, again, of compliance, feature, et cetera, regulations. But a lot of what we're doing now, we're releasing simultaneously. And you're going to see a huge change when we talk about security compliance in the next slide, because that engineering group in particular has made a very strong commitment about feature parity. And they're essentially sim shipping, meaning trying to simultaneously ship the feature across all clouds. So it doesn't go unless it's available in all clouds. And that's a really big deal as well. So again, we also have, with our acquisition of Mover, we now have the migration manager capability directly on the tenant that will enable not only file migrations, but now also Dropbox migrations for government clouds. That went on preview December. I haven't tested it. If anybody has, I'd love to see, to hear your experience, or if you have any needs around that. I think the engineering teams and folks that support you and myself would be very interested to hear about your experience. Yes, I'm laughing at Joe's anecdote there about the name of their own tenant. Another thing that's seems trivial, but it's again something important that was on the roadmap for a while, and a requirement for our customers for a while, was the calendar view and list web part, right? So now you have a list that has dates, and you can now show that directly without having to hack it as a calendar view. That's also a nice item to call out. Data access governance. I think it's also a really great feature, and it goes to the core of the employee experience features that we're releasing with Viva, et cetera, right? We're trying to really see what matters in the organization, right? You can monitor sharing activity, you can monitor oversharing, you can review and monitor sites based on the type of sharing and see essential information about the sites, like sensitivity, level of access, from unmanaged devices, or if the site can be shared externally. Again, I think that's a really cool feature. I'm looking forward to that as well. Then we have external access in Teams meetings, right? For whiteboard. That is, again, this item surprised me as I was perusing our list of upcoming features. This is something that's, a real big deal. Why is that? Because generally speaking, to collaborate and co-author on a particular document in our platform, you need to have specific privileges. You need to be guested into it, right? You need to have the ability to edit files, et cetera, et cetera. But with Whiteboard, what the Whiteboard team is doing is allowing any participant on a Teams meeting to actually be able to not only view, but co-author on that whiteboard. So you'll have that collaborative experience during the meeting. And then when the meeting's over, you lose access to it, but you have been able to provide your input in that whiteboarding experience. That's incredible. I think this is a great feature as well. It'll become generally available in March of this calendar year for GCC only, but I know that's coming for GCC High and DoD. A note around availability for Whiteboard. That's been also something that our engineering teams have been working a lot to make available. We had a little bit of a delay making Whiteboard available in GCC High last year, and we thought it was going to be generally available March. But as you may have seen through Message Center posts or looking at the roadmap, et cetera, we have released a number of Whiteboard capabilities in GCC High right now, so that you can add a Whiteboard tab into your Teams, and you can access the standalone, if you will, Whiteboard web application at whiteboard.office365.us and have that collaborative whiteboarding experience. I don't know if my GC High folks knew that. That's a really good thing as well, and we're going to continue to release more capabilities, such as the ability to use the thick client and the mobile client as well. Okay, what else? Microsoft Stream has been a capability that's been coming for a while, and because we re-architected the platform, engineering decided not to release the old version into the new clouds, but rather release the newer version that's based in OneDrive for Business and SharePoint Online, because that provides not only with a lot of flexibility and from the storage perspective, but also the ability to treat those video files and content as items that you can act upon from a security and compliance perspective, right? So you can do retention, records management, even e-discovery on those files, on those video files. So that's really, really good. And we continue to add features to that stream experience. So the next thing that's coming on the stream side is the ability to generate captions for a video uploaded to SharePoint and OneDrive. You may have seen that capability that existed on Stream V1, and it's a really powerful capability. Just upload the file and then it'll generate closed captioning, and ultimately those closed captions are also going to be searchable across the platform. Same thing with adding or editing captions and transcript for a video in SharePoint or OneDrive. Those are coming. The first one is coming for GCC and GCC High, and the other ones are coming for all clouds. The other thing I wanted to call out, I don't know, Nick, if we've already had a session around Viva with the community, but Viva is the new employee experience portal that Microsoft has launched as a result of all the learnings we've done during the pandemic, right? We really need to, we've discovered that organizations really want to focus on employee well-being, productivity, et cetera, and our Viva capabilities address that. One of the first forays into that's already available in GCC is the Viva Connections site that allows you to pin a specific SharePoint Online site into the left rail of your team's environment, so that you can have that, one-to-many communication experience for information dissemination from the organization to all users, because every user in Teams is going to have the ability to click on that link and see this SharePoint Online site. And the next thing that's coming available in May, and it's highlighting here, is the briefing email for the government community cloud. That's a part of Viva Insights, and it really provides every individual users with a briefing around their day, right? You have these meetings, you've made these commitments, these are the things you need to do. That's a really powerful capability, and we're excited to see it come to our government clouds. Then quickly, let's talk about some notable items in security compliance. What I wanted to highlight here, first of all, is as you can see, all clouds at the same time. That's a really big deal, and I think all engineering teams are looking at our security compliance engineering folks and seeing that this is something that really is worth enabling across the board, right? So a couple of things that are coming, adaptive retention policies. That's, again, a really, really powerful feature. We have a couple of articles that one of our PMs, Erica Tully, has published in the past few months, really the ability to apply retention policies, not only based on author and container, but also in additional conditions, and those are adaptive. So as you move from one group to another, right, your retention policies and retention needs and records management needs change, and these policies change accordingly. So it's a super powerful capability, and it's coming in February of this calendar.
Hey, Sergio, before you go on, a couple questions from the chat. Somebody asked about if you know what license level will be needed for those adaptive retention policies. And then there was also a question about nested hub sites within GCC High.
Okay, so nested hubs, I don't think is a capability that we support even in commercial, but definitely hubs, SharePoint hub sites is something that's available in GCC High. And the license needed for the adaptive retention policies, definitely something that we will get back to you all. I don't know what licensing is required. I suspect it will be an advanced compliance license because of the fact that it's dynamic and it acts automatically upon the content, right? Customers that have dealt with you, me, and others will know that anything that's automated that our intelligent engines are doing, is generally an advanced feature. But we'll get back to you all. Another thing that's really important to call out, and that I thought that I would call out here on the Compliance Center, for the ability to support Teams reactions for advanced e-discovery. So not only are we going to be able to do discovery on the content of the files that are shared on Teams, the chats that are shared on IM, et cetera, or the persistent chat of a team, but also the reactions associated with those chat elements. Interestingly enough, that's been a requirement across the board in our government clouds and also in the commercial, and that's something that's coming very soon, February of this calendar year. A number of you all, talking about the next item, a number of folks have seen the need for advanced e-discovery APIs so that you can really automate that, and that's coming for all clouds in February of this calendar year as well. And lastly, we have the ability to extend sensitivity labels to Azure Purview. I'm going to now very quickly skip to something that I really want you all to take a look at. I don't know if you have followed, Ignite and all the other events that we have where we release new capabilities, but we released Microsoft Loop that's essentially based on the Fluid framework, and what that is a component-based framework that will allow you to really mesh different pieces of our productivity stack into a single entity that really will improve collaboration. So I'm going to try to play a video from a slide, and hopefully you'll be able to hear the audio, because I chose share audio, but let me know if you don't see it.
Loop consists of 3 core elements: Loop workspaces, Loop pages, and Loop components. Loop workspaces are shared spaces that allow you and your team to see and group everything important to your project. Add Office docs, notebooks, files, links, whiteboards, or anything else related to your project. And then there are Loop pages. These are flexible canvases that start small and grow to match the size of your ideas. Pages put the focus on your work and bring together the powerful tools that adapt to meet the needs of your project. Every Loop page can feature Loop components. These live connected experiences allow the team to pull in live business records, track tasks, or capture progress. But it's not just about content. It's also about connecting with people. Loop always keeps you and your team in sync. You can brainstorm, create, and build on each other's work. You can react to each other's ideas, express your thoughts, and celebrate your achievements together. And all of these capabilities aren't limited to just your Loop app. With Loop components, you can bring any part of your workspace into Teams, emails in Outlook, or whatever app your team is using in the moment. So this is Microsoft Loop, a place where everything comes together, keeping you and your team more productive, on track, and closer than ever before.
So that's Loop in a very quick nutshell, but this is really a very powerful capability, and I don't know if you caught in the video that you can insert Loop components directly into Teams chat. That capability is available in preview right now in our commercial tenants, and we're going to make it available soon in our government clouds. But it's really, I think, the next frontier, if you will, in remote collaborative capabilities, because it really makes everything very easy, right? You don't need to worry about, I have to create a Word document, save it in my OneDrive, share it through Teams, so that you can access, give you permission, et cetera. You can grab a Loop component and start creating and co-authoring directly from the chat once you publish it with anybody who's part of the chat. So you can create tables, you can create paragraphs, essentially, as you can see, components, building blocks of our collaborative experience, and I think it's only going to get more powerful. This is a great capability. I want you all to keep an eye out for it. I think it's going to revolutionize collaboration. Next, I'm going to quickly share our vision around Microsoft Teams Rooms. What are the next things that are coming in Microsoft Teams Rooms? For those of you who are not familiar what that means, Microsoft has a series of devices that enable very sophisticated modern interaction in the conference rooms that are associated with Microsoft Teams and provide very integrated experiences as you have and deploy them in your organization. And this is the future of the next.
In the hybrid world of work, organizations need to embrace flexibility, empowering people to collaborate from anywhere. Microsoft Teams Rooms bridge the gap between in-person and remote attendees, ensuring everyone can be seen, heard, and be fully engaged. Teams Rooms are designed so even if you're working from home, you feel as included and as part of the meeting as those in the room. Connect with your team more comfortably, clearly, and naturally. Participate in the conversation and share reactions. Have your voice heard and communicate effectively. Collaborate on the same digital canvas as colleagues in the room. To deepen your connection with others in the meeting, personalize your home office with devices certified for Teams. Select from a range of accessories. Combine them with a plug-and-play integrated audio, video, and lighting solution. Or add a second display with a device dedicated to your calls and meetings. The audio and video technology in a Microsoft Teams room is designed for remote participants. Create even stronger connections with smart cameras that focus on the person speaking. An intelligent speaker that lets everyone know who is speaking in the room. And for spaces using a traditional whiteboard, use a content camera to make sure it can always be seen by everyone. Now when you're at home, you can have a seat at the table, be fully engaged, and able to contribute.
And that is Microsoft Teams Rooms. Again, we're very excited about this. We really think that it's the way to enable the next generation of hybrid work and the hybrid workplace. We are almost at the top of the hour. I think we are not going to have time to talk about current and future cross collaboration. Nick, happy to come back if there's an appetite for folks to learn about those capabilities, because I think it's very important for our customers to know that and hear that. But I really appreciate the feedback, the interactivity. I really had a lot of fun, and I hope we were able to provide some insight into things that are coming with our platform.
Yeah, Sergio, thank you so much for the great presentation, being generous with your time. We certainly don't have a hard stop if you want to stay on, but totally understand if you have other things you need to get onto. So don't want to take advantage too much, and we'll be certainly happy to have you back, maybe for one of those Viva presentations that you mentioned. We haven't done one of those before, so that'd be great.
Absolutely. Thanks all. I don't know if you have any general questions, even as it relates to cross-tenant and cross-cloud collaboration capabilities. Feel free to go mute that then.
All right. Well, I don't see any other questions.
Yeah, I have I mean, what is the
ahead.
general status of cross-tenant, cross-cloud? Because with GCC High, GCC, and DoD, it's like we need that cross-cloud.
Exactly. So, hey, we have a few minutes. Nick said we don't have a hard stop. So for those who are interested, I can go very quickly through these slides that hopefully will shed some light on that. Nick, is that okay? Andy?
Of course, as long as you're here, take it away.
All right. So let's talk about this. It's really important, right? First of all, cross-cloud collaboration is there are a number of capabilities that are available today so that you can collaborate across clouds. As I mentioned, you can IM me from GCC High or from DoD or from GCC, of course. You can, of course, invite me to a meeting and I can participate as we've outlined. You can share screen, you can present files, you can have the persistent chat and presence, etc. That's already available today. But let's talk about what are the collaboration modalities right? That require different types of participants. So, yes, good. I'm glad you like overtime, Jamie. So we have the classic collaboration. That's the way we've collaborated for, I don't know, decades before the advent of Teams. And that's really a meetings-based intermittent collaboration with audio, video, and screen sharing, chat presence, et cetera, et cetera. That's something you can do today. You can invite any user from any cloud using only their email. Works with any user, and this does not require this concept called B2B guest access. We're going to talk about that in the next slides. And then we have the rich collaboration, right? This is this persistent, advanced collaboration experience that you would want to enable for certain customers, for certain users and for certain guests into your tenant, so that you can enable that rich collaborative experience with content on your tenant, so that you have complete control over the content and the permissions and the access that this user that's invited from the outside can have. That's an experience that's available today within our clouds, right? In GCC, GCC High, and DoD, you can invite a user from another tenant that resides in that cloud currently and have this rich collaborative experience. But that's not needed for all cases, right? And here's, I created a little outline of the types of participants of a collaborative experience. The internal user is a user within a tenant, right? They have all permissions, they can do everything. Then you have, unfortunately, or whatever, really, we have to deal with two types of users that are outside of our tenant, because they have different capabilities, different requirements, and different levels of interactions. We have external and guest users, right? An external user is a user on any tenant. It has to be a user of a tenant. They have to have an identity on an Office 365 tenant in any cloud. But it's a user on any tenant. It doesn't have to be a guest on my tenant. I can search for that user by email, right, anytime. And it doesn't need a CAC, for example, to authenticate into, say, a DoD meeting, right? It can join meetings and one-on-one chats. That's an external user or PIP. Then we have guests, the more sophisticated user type as we talk about users outside of our tenant. That's a user on any tenant that needs to be explicitly invited to my tenant. And once that's happened, right, I can add those users to Teams, SharePoint Online sites, share files directly, and give them permissions, et cetera, right? So how does the classic collaboration experience work? I have a tenant here in the DoD, and I invite people from all different tenants. I invite people from IL5, I invite people from GCC High, I invite people from GCC, and I invite people from commercial, right? And how do I invite them? By sending them an invite from Outlook. And I attach a Teams meeting. Then when they receive that invitation, thanks to the cross-cloud anonymous join experience, all they're going to have to do is click join, and they'll be able to join that meeting. And we're going to be able to have participants from all three clouds, if needed, in a single meeting. That's the classic collaboration experience, and that works today, right? So as you can see, these users have joined using the full join experience. This user from GCC High and the user from GCC joined the meeting using the anonymous join experience. But again, everybody is on the meeting or in the meeting and are able to see chat, presence, and view screen sharing. So that's the classic collaboration experience. It's really great. I have here the characteristics of external and GCC High users. External and guest users. Right? What are these users? I think we're going to share this, so I'm not going to drain the slide. But essentially, this is how you start a communication with an external user. You go to your, click on your chat icon on Teams, and then on the to field, you just put the email address of this person who's outside of your tenant. They have to be a Teams user, but they can be outside of your cloud, outside of your tenant, and you just type their name. You're going to realize this is a clear indicator that you are going to start an external chat, because Teams is going to ask you if you want to search for this person as an external user. Once you click on that button, you find the, if you have the right email address, you'll find the user, and then you can start a chat with that user. And this will be clearly marked as an external user, and he'll display their domain as well, so that you have an idea of who you're talking to. It's that simple, and that's available today from any cloud. Yes, I think it's a very good point. I don't know. Yeah, Nick, thank you. Very good point. There are settings on the tenants that need to be enabled so that you can collaborate. You can open up these experiences, right? Especially for cross-cloud, you need to explicitly add the tenants that you want to have these conversations with. Guest user is, again, the sophisticated user type, if you will. You can invite them to your teams in this particular case. How does this invite guest and redemption work? It's very straightforward. I go to a team and I enter my user's email, and then Teams is going to ask me, hey, do you want to add this user as a guest? And when I click on that button, it starts the invite and redemption process. And once the user redeems that invitation, they are going to be added to that team and clearly marked as guests as part of that team. But now they're going to have access to my team with their own identity, right? So I don't have to worry about identity management, but they'll be able to have this rich collaborative experience on my tenant with content that I own and I have complete control of, and I can also remove their permissions at any time, right? Oops. So this is how the experience works right now. This is cross-cloud collaboration. Oh, we should go to this one first. So the in-cloud collaboration experience within the same cloud. In this particular case, our example is Microsoft 365 GCC High. So these two tenants are in the Office 365 GCC High environment, right? And I have an identity here. Oops. I have an identity on a partner tenant, on an external tenant, and I want to invite this user so that they can have this governed collaborative access to not only my Office 365 resources, but also Azure and other applications. So what I do is I invite them using the process that you saw. For inviting a user through Teams is one way to add a user through B2B, and then their identity is projected into this tenant, and now I show up. This user shows up in my tenant, in my AAD even, as a guest user that I can manage and then give access to different properties in my tenant, right? SharePoint Online Site Collections, Teams, et cetera, and once that's done, right, if I've given the user right privileges, for example, or contribute privileges, they'll be able to have that co-authoring collaborative experience as well. And now the cross-cloud experience, we want it to be the same. That's something that's coming in the future. It's not available right now, but the idea is to make this work in the same way for the cross-cloud experience. So I have a user on this cloud. In this case, it's GCC High, an M365 GCC High tenant on this cloud, and then I have another tenant in a different cloud. And I want to be able to have that same experience, right, of inviting and projecting that identity into cloud. That's an experience that we're working on as well, and it's going to become available in the future. We cannot share dates around those, but if you have a need to plan around those, we encourage you to reach out to your account teams, and they can provide a little more clarity around that. We're talking about the future within this calendar year. We are hoping to have these capabilities available. So now let's talk about what are the collaboration capabilities that are available today, right? These are the things you can do today. You can have cross-tenant, meaning within your same cloud, Teams guest access. So the experience that I shared about the B2B guest collaboration is available today in commercial, of course, GCC, GCC High, and DoD. You can do cross-cloud Teams chat and voice calls one-on-one, again using that interface through chat that I showed. Another really cool thing that we can do is we can do cross-cloud file sharing using one-time passcode from SharePoint Online and OneDrive for Business. Essentially, you go to share a file, you enter the email address of the user in a different cloud, and they're going to receive a one-time passcode so that it'll give them access to the tenant. Again, that needs to be configured, right? But it's an experience that's available today as well. We also have cross-cloud calendar free BC sharing. and anonymous meeting join. That's a really cool thing. I have customers who have tenants in different clouds, for example, GCC High and commercial with multi-geo, and they need to be able to share freebies information. That's something that's available today, and we have a documented process in our docs.myactual.com site. These capabilities that I've outlined here, I actually wrote a blog about them, and me and my colleague Paul Meacham have created a series of videos around how to enable this, and I'm providing the links on the resources as well. So hopefully you'll be able to take advantage of those. And that's it really. Here are a couple of additional resources. First, how to our Microsoft roadmap site, and a couple of places where you can go to stay abreast as to what's happening in the M365 infrastructure. What's new in Migration Manager, what's new in SharePoint migration, and this is the article that I talked about, the cross-cloud and cross-tenant collaboration scenarios. And that's it. That was quick. I was able to fit it in 12, 15 minutes. So I really appreciate everyone who stayed for this. If you have any questions, feel free to come off mute. I can talk about this forever.
Yeah, Sergio, getting those links for those videos you made would be very, very cool. I'd love to see those links. Absolutely.
In fact, let me see if I can paste one of those in the chat. Yep. So,
and Sergio, we also put a link to a blog post from a familiar author in the chat as well. So.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. So that's the one. Yeah.
Yeah. There we go. Excellent.
Cool. Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely.
So yeah, please, anyone who has questions, go ahead.
Will you guys be having these calls every quarter, or what's the cadence of these calls?
So great question. We do a monthly kind of just meetup with a variety of topics. It has this is the first one we've done in terms of this sort of like a roadmap upcoming feature review. Thanks to Sergio. But if you look at kind of the history over the last year, we've had sessions on everything from security through Power Platform, Teams, also CMMC, you name it. So typically the last Tuesday of the month is when we do these, and certainly encourage, please spread the word among your friends and colleagues if you found any of this to be valuable, and certainly what you'd like to see more of. So.
Well, thank you, Nick. Thanks.
Thank you, Jerry. Great to have you here tonight.
Yeah, I'm the new PMM at corporate, working on government accounts for Teams. So I'm drinking from the fire hose, guys.
Well, happy to have you, Jerry.
Yeah, thanks, Nick. Good job, Sergio.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Anyone else have parting questions for Sergio? Sergio, this has definitely been great. I'm not at all surprised, but always a pleasure to hear you present.
Thank you, Nick. Means a lot coming from you. And I appreciate you all's time, everyone in this community. I participated a number of times, and it's really great to see that this is growing. We really want this community to grow so that we can continue to grow in the adoption of the platform. Thank you so much for your time and attention today. It was a pleasure to present to you all.
All right, with that, I'm going to stop the recording, and anyone is welcome to stay on and chat amongst yourselves, but have a great evening, and thank you so much for attending. We will see you next month.